since there's the quorum, then I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Just to let everybody know, Ryan is ill tonight, and so this is Scott Hancock, and I will be doing my best to fill his shoes and conduct the meeting. He does a great job, and I just hope that I can live up to the bar that he has set. So the first item on our agenda would be to consider the minutes from the last meeting. So is there anybody that has anything to add or remove from the meetings? And if not, if somebody could make a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting.
This is Kate. I move that we accept the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Is there a second?
I second. This is Elise.
Okay, great. And I think what we've been doing is I'll just go right down the list for the roll. And if you accept the minutes, then either acknowledge that you accept them, and then also we'll take roll that way. So I'm really sorry, but there is somebody's that is logged on where I can't see a name for it. But if I miss you, say something and we'll come back to you. So Renette?
Yes, I'm here and accept.
Great. Elise?
Here, accept.
Hamendra?
Here, accept.
Chris M?
Here, accept.
Kate?
Accept.
Tim?
Accept.
Tom?
Accept.
And then the one person that I can't see a name for, are you there?
That could be the public line. Do you see just a number and some asterisks?
No, I have one line that is numbers, and then I have another line, an additional one that's just blank.
Huh, interesting. Got a lot of teams.
So I guess we'll just move on then. So
Yeah, I'm not seeing it from my end either.
Oh, you're not? Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to the, and I'm here and I'll accept, or, so we'll move on to call for non-agenda items. So we'd added this in case somebody had something that they wanted to bring up. We will revisit it at the end of the meeting pending time. And I just had an item. I just wanted to talk to everybody or let everybody know about the Leadership Tigard class that is through the Tigard Chamber of Commerce. Was there anything else for non-agenda items to be added later on in the meeting? Okay, not hearing any, we'll move on. So the next thing on the agenda would be public comment. Is there anybody that has called in to the public comment line?
They would have to email us, Scott, and neither Sean or I have received anything.
Okay. Then let's move on to is it follow up from previous meetings?
Yes. Don't have any follow-up from previous meetings.
Okay, great. Then the next thing would be item number 6, the Proud Ground briefing. Kate, are you here? Kate Ulrich?
Yeah, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, oh yeah. Are you the person that did it have a name?
Yeah, I can't figure out how to rename myself.
Oh, okay, great. Well, everybody.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Everybody, this is Kate Ulrich, and she's going to be briefing us about Proud Ground. You have the floor, Kate.
Awesome, great. Thank you so much. Sean, do I have the ability to share my screen, or do you? Oh, wait, open share tray. Here we go.
Yeah, you should.
Okay, hold on one second. Do you guys see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. Let me just tell my son something. Hold on.
Hey,
All
while
right,
she's
go ahead.
telling her son something, if you have any questions, would you like to answer them as they have questions or at the end of your presentation?
Oh, thanks for asking. You know, let's do the end of the presentation. I tried to make the presentation pretty short so that we could leave enough time for questions at the end.
Great. So if you have any questions for Kate, go ahead and raise your hand on the share, and then I'll try to get to people in order if I can, or I may just go down the list. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sure, no problem. Thanks so much for having me tonight. My name is Katie Ulrich. I am the Homeownership Program Director at Proud Ground, and Proud Ground is a community land trust. We were actually founded in 1999, and we currently serve Clackamas, Lincoln, Washington, Multnomah, and Clark counties. And really, our mission is to help working families afford to purchase their first home. So our home buyers that we work with have steady incomes and can qualify for a mortgage, but their incomes just aren't high enough to purchase a home the traditional way in today's housing market. So through our program, our education and counseling and the down payment assistance support that we get, Proud Ground helps our homeowners achieve that dream of home ownership and the family stability that goes along with it. So in our community land trust model, Proud Ground homeowners receive basically a reduced sales price on their home, and they agree to maintain that affordability for the next home buyer. So while our home buyers are still building wealth, our homeowners help future generations of home buyers have access to an affordable home, just like they did. And we are very proud to say we are the largest organization of our kind, a community land trust in the Pacific Northwest. As I mentioned, our homes do stay affordable forever. They serve generations of families. So this will ensure that our neighborhoods have affordable places to live, for people to live for all residents for years to come. And over the last 21 years, as you can see, Proud Ground has assisted over 450 families purchase homes in our 5-county service area. And this has resulted in over 360 permanently affordable homes in our community land trust portfolio. Proud Ground serves first-time home buyers, generally earning less than 80% of the area median income. And I put on there a little snapshot of the homeowners that we served in 2020. These home buyers are working families with lower incomes. Many of them are households of color facing inequitable housing practices. And while prices on the market have increased, as you may know, you've seen that, I'm sure, wages have not. And so Proud Ground helps families with those lower incomes access home buyer education, down payment support to qualify for that traditional mortgage and purchase a home at a price that they can afford. Okay. So here's the model. The community land trust model is a bit unique. It was born out of the civil rights movement when sharecroppers in Georgia wanted actually to have access to the right to vote, but couldn't vote without owning land. So they pooled their resources collectively and purchased a working farm. That collective ownership of the land is really what fuels the community land trust model that's used across the country today. So since then, CLTs have developed across the nation, and while each community's needs are different, they all use the same model. Basically, we are using the model for homeownership and to ensure that income qualified households have access to affordable homeownership. And in this model, our homeowners own the home outright by leveraging a mortgage. So they own their home through a mortgage. And then the community land trust owns the land under the home and leases it back to the homeowner through a 99-year renewable lease. This allows the community land trust to ensure that if a homeowner decides to sell their home, the home resells to another income qualified home buyer, and the original homeowner receives a fair return on their initial investment while still helping future generations have access to affordable homes just like they did. And I'll go into that in a little bit more detail coming up. So, the community land trust model also believes that community is best built from the ground up, and which is why community land trusts are structured so that the board of directors that runs our organization is actually required to have 1/3 of our homeowners, current Proud Ground homeowners on our board. And so this is a quote from one of our Proud Ground board members who is also a Proud Ground homeowner. And our current board of directors is made up of over 50% people of color and 1/3 of Proud Ground homeowners. And we also have representation from each of the counties that we serve as well on our board. In addition to that 1/3 of our board of directors being current Proud Ground homeowners, all of Proud Ground homeowners are voting members of our organization. So this means that they have a say in key organizational decisions. And so that really does balance the relationship between the homeowner and the community land trust as owning the land. But obviously the benefits of homeownership run much deeper than just being a member of an organization they bought their home with. 71% of Proud Ground homeowners report that homeownership has contributed to an increase in their pay. And 47% are pursuing additional education and workforce training to continue to increase their income. Children in homeownership do better in school. Almost half of Proud Ground homeowners with children reported that their children increased in their educational outcomes after becoming homeowners, and civic engagement improves as well. So with 40% of our homeowners that participated in this survey said that they've increased their community service in their communities once they became a homeowner. So this is I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this infographic. It really does dive deeper into the financial benefits of homeowners purchasing an affordable home through Proud Ground's model, the community land trust model. And what this infographic is doing is it's going to be comparing a household that has a monthly budget of about $4,000 a month. So they might earn, $50,000 to $60,000 a year. And the household on the left decides to rent a home. So they're renting a home and their current rent in this house is $2,000 a month. The household in the middle decided to stretch themselves a bit and buy a home on the open market with a traditional mortgage. So in that scenario, they were required to bring in about a little over $10,000 or 3.5% down as their down payment, and they ended up with a mortgage payment of about $2,000 a month, so similar to what our renter is paying. And then the household on the right chose to purchase with Proud Ground's affordable model, and they came in with a lower down payment. So it's typically our homeowners bring anywhere from $500 to $1,000 in a down payment. And their resulting mortgage, because of the investment that Proud Ground makes at closing to make the home affordable for our home buyers, that means that the buyer has to pay less. And so in this example, the buyer only had to get a loan for $250,000 to purchase their home because Proud Ground covered the difference with public and private investment. And so their resulting mortgage payment was only $1,200 a month. And then as you can see at the bottom, 10 years later, we're going to compare outcomes. And, a renter, the rent has increased. And now the home they were renting 10 years later is now $2,700 a month. And that renter has no equity from their time of renting. The the home buyer that chose the traditional mortgage, they actually are selling after 10 years, and the market value of that home is $470,000. So it has increased in value. It was worth $350,000 when they bought it. Now it's worth $470,000. They're selling it, and they are walking away with $182,000 in equity. And I don't know if people get deep in the numbers, but that includes both the increase in market value that's happened on the home, as well as the homeowner's principal reduction on their mortgage. So this is considered more proceeds from the sale. And now that home is being sold, but it's being sold for $470,000. So it's not really affordable to a household with limited income. And then the Proud Ground model through our formula. So we have a formula that dictates basically the maximum our homes could be sold for at resale. It's again balancing the initial homeowner's investment in the property with the need for an affordable property for another household. So in this example, this exact home, the same home basically would sell affordably to another income qualified household for $295,000. And the original homeowner would walk away with $98,000 in equity. So that includes a share of that increase in value that's happened on the home, as well as their principal reduction on their mortgage. Now, in addition to that, it's also important to note that the homeowner has saved, they were paying $800 less per month for 10 years on their mortgage payment. And so they have actually saved $96,000 in those monthly payments as well. And they are, that, I think it's important when you think about homeownership as a wealth building and wealth creating tool, to also look at other ways that people can invest in asset building. And so, maybe that Proud Ground homeowner was able to use that $800 a month savings to contribute more to their retirement, or to start saving for a college education, or maybe to save for a down payment on another home they want to buy in the future. And, studies of community land trust homeowners show that about 70% of community land trust homeowners, when they sell their home, their community land trust home, they actually use the proceeds to go on and buy a traditional home on the open market as well. And I talked a little bit about the inequities, and I think most folks are aware of this, but I think that comparison I just put up there is extremely important when we look at the disparities in homeownership today. And for most Americans in the U.S., homeownership is their primary way that households build wealth. But for generations, the housing market has excluded those households of color from accessing homeownership. Anything from inequities in federal housing programs to access to loans. And that inequitable access has kept households of color from building wealth and accessing the high quality neighborhood services such as education and employment. So therefore, Proud Ground's program does focus its outreach to households of color as well as households with children to really work on these disparities. So now I'm going to dive in a little bit to, I moved my mouse here. Oh, there we go. Our partnership in Tigard. So we are very excited to get started working in Tigard. Our goal and what we have been talking with the city about is really creating new permanently affordable home ownership opportunities in the city of Tigard with a priority to these populations that we talked about, those that have been historically denied access, people of color and low-income households. And when I say low-income households, Proud Ground typically serves about 65% of the area median income, which for a household of 3 is about $54,000 per year. Actually, it might be going up soon. Permanent affordability means neighborhoods stay affordable and homeowners can pass their home to their heirs. They create community stability and get the opportunity to access wealth building. And it really does make a multi-generational impact for these homeowners. As of 2020, homeowners who have lived in their homes for at least 10 years, on average, are earning about $97,000 in equity. And the model itself, community land trust model, is very flexible, which I think is exciting for the city of Tigard. we do what's called a buyer-driven or buyer-initiated model, where we might get grant funding from the city, and I'll talk about that next, but grant funding from the city to buy down the cost of an already existing home. We have partnered on new construction and development, and I'm going to give a couple examples of that. We've also, I forgot to put that on here, we also have done acquisition and rehab of existing homes as well. So the model itself can work in lots of different settings. It can also be effective and work in high density development. And I know that is in new developments, that could be a possibility. And I have a couple examples. I'm going to try to see if I can share this. Am I still, let's see, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to open my share tray, and I'm going to show you a couple of examples of some new construction, high density development that we have been a part of. Let's see here. All right, so this one, and I have photos, but I actually think it's probably more important to get to questions. So this, though, is a development that Proud Ground was actually the lead developer on this project. It was built in 2011, Svoboda Court. It was in Southeast Portland, and I'm going to scroll here to kind of show you the layout. So it was part of the oh my gosh, City of Portland's courtyard infill projects. So similar maybe to what might be considered a cottage cluster. This was 12 homes total. This development was actually a 0 lot line development, so it was not a condominium. And these were actually all 2 and 3 bedroom townhome style properties with 2 to 3 levels on them. And so there were 12. There was a common courtyard that was shared in the development as well. And the properties really did meet some pretty high standards for like LEED development and energy sustainability. And so this is an example of one of the projects we worked on. The other one I will flip to, if I have it open, sorry, is, let's see here. Let's try this. Let's see if I can get this one up. Okay. All right. So this one was built before that. So I think this one was actually completed in 2008. And again, if anybody really wants to see the actual photos of the finished thing, I can definitely email them to you. This was actually an 8-unit condominium development. And so 2 3-bedroom units, all 2 and 3 bedroom units sold affordably. All were part of the Proud Grounds Community Land Trust, so they will stay permanently affordable as well. And then I'm going to shoot. Close those out. Okay, go back to my, where'd it go? Oh, there we go. Okay, so I just have a couple more slides and then we'll move to questions. So this is, an example, I guess, is what I would say. The investment in home ownership for permanently affordable home ownership isn't necessarily cheap, but I think we all know that, new development and construction of any affordable housing is an investment. This is an example of a model scenario for like a $350,000 home. Typically, our home buyers can afford about $250,000 in their mortgage. That's an affordable mortgage for them. So basically, we look at filling the gap between what our homeowners can afford and what the purchase price of the home is, or what the construction, the cost to build of the home is. And so we do typically get some pretty steep investments from cities we work with, anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 per home. And then we leverage. Proud Ground has some other leveraged funds. Some of it's federal money, some of it is private money, and we leverage that to fill the gap for the home buyer. The really exciting thing is that, once that gap is filled for a home and it enters Proud Grounds program, it is part of Proud Grounds program forever. And so that means resale after resale, that home will be sold to another income qualified family without any additional investment needed by the city or by Proud Ground. So that's the beauty of the model. We estimate that one home will serve up to 7 households during the lifetime of that home. So when you think of an investment of, $85,000 from the city, it's really not that much to be able to serve 7 households and make such a deep impact in their lives. So that was it. I'll turn off my screen share and we can move into some questions too. All right, I see hands raised. Do you want me to just?
That's okay. I'll try, and if I miss somebody, then go
Okay.
ahead. I think Tim was first. Go ahead, Tim.
Tim, you're muted.
Sorry, there we go. I must have double hit it. Thanks for the presentation. The question I was asking, there's actually a couple of questions here. One is there an ideal location where you typically try to put these homes, like next to near grocery stores or mass transit type areas? And then also you said that you're serving about 7 families. What's kind of the lifespan that you're, or time frame that you are putting that over? How many years that you think that house is going to be turned over?
Yeah, great question. So as far as location goes, I mean, certainly we definitely look in new construction development to have properties located near amenities. So, schools, we've looked at schools as well as, shopping places, something that is going to be able to integrate the development into the community and not require a bunch of transit to get to and from places. But we also have located properties near transit corridors as well. Now, regarding the lifespan, that one, in the community land trust world, on average, our homeowners sell about every 7 years, just like a standard first-time home buyer out on the open market. So when you think of that, if they sell every 7 years, and we are serving 7 households, that lifespan of the house is really only about 50 years. Now, it's not really true for our portfolio. I mean, I honestly think that's a conservative estimate because obviously we anticipate our homes to last quite a ways past that. The nice thing is we actually do have an ongoing relationship with our homeowners as the landowner. So we are also stewarding these properties and have an invested interest in making sure that they're staying, well maintained, because it is an asset that we will be, they'll be selling to another Proud Ground homeowner as well.
Okay, Tom, I think you're next.
Thank you, Scott. In the urban renewal districts, of course, square footage is a key consideration. We have a limited area in which the urban renewal dollars can be spent. That can mean that going vertical looks attractive. Is Woolsey Corner the only condominium project that Proud Ground has done? And could you comment a little more about the melding of the community land trust and condominium concepts? Yeah.
So Proud Ground was actually lead developer on a property on North Interstate and near North Interstate in Killingsworth that would have had 64 condominiums in it, 40 of them affordable, and the other 24 were market rate. So it was actually mixed income as well as high density, and it was definitely vertical. They were also family-sized units. That was something that was important to us. So we actually had 2 and 3 bedroom units, and the 3-bedroom condos were close to 1,000 to 1,100 square feet. Unfortunately, that project, COVID hit, and the construction loan fell out, and we got almost to development on that and had to pull back from that property, unfortunately. So we do have some experience with at least the concept and design and work of high density. I would say though that Proud Ground definitely works in partnership. So although we are a developer, we typically, in going into new development, we would actually look for a development partner, whether that be a for-profit or nonprofit partner to actually lead development. And so Woolsey Corner is a great example of that. We were not the lead developer on that property. A for-profit developer was. So yes, it's all possible. As far as the mechanism of community land trust and condominiums, in most of the condominiums that we work with right now, we do not actually own the land under the condominium. So it's a little bit of a hybrid of the community land trust model. Instead of that, we actually record a covenant or a deed restriction on each of the condo units that essentially does the same thing our land lease agreement does. It restricts the homeowner's ability to sell the home on the open market. It requires they sell to another income qualified home buyer at an affordable price. So we're still getting permanent affordability without having to take on the ownership of the land in that situation.
Okay, Hamindra.
Yeah, thanks. This appears to be a great program. My question is, what percentage of applicants are you able to accept in this program? And the second question is, who pays for the maintenance and upkeep of the house?
Good questions. So we have, right now we have about 500 people on our applicant list. Now, whenever I tell someone that, they kind of freak out. We serve about anywhere from 40 to 60 households a year. So it can sound like it's going to take a while for someone on our wait list to get a home, but remember, we actually serve 5 counties. And so what I always try to tell people is that's all 500 people. You know, some of those people want to live in Clark County, and so they are not going to apply for an opportunity in Tigard, for example. The other thing is some of the grant funding we work with, like in the city of Gresham, Clark County, and in the city of Vancouver, they require current residency from the applicant to qualify for their funding. And so for those opportunities, we have an even limited pool, smaller pool on our wait list that would qualify for those. You know, when we are new in Tigard, and so we are aware that, you know, we've been working a little bit with the, you know, with Metro and with, of course, with the, with some of the other programs we've been doing, but we would want to also do some outreach in Tigard and work with partners, community partners, get people on our list that could be qualified and interested. It often takes people several years to get mortgage ready sometimes. And so we would want to start working with households early to help them learn about home buying, as well as what they might need to do to get mortgage ready. And then your other question was about maintenance. Yeah, so our homeowners, all of our homeowners are homeowners. I mean, the lease agreement says that they are fully responsible for the maintenance and repair of their home. We do education with our homeowners when they're purchasing to talk about saving for repairs and maintenance. We also do have a credit system. I know it's called something else, but it does give some credit to homeowners when they sell their home in the future for certain improvements that they've made. So for example, if someone actually added a bedroom or a bathroom to their home, they could get, you know, at resale, they could get 100% of what that adds to the value of the home. So there are some incentives for homeowners to do improvements and repair. We also connect homeowners with like home repair matched savings programs. We've worked with this isn't really maintenance, but we've worked with solar programs, and we've actually had solar panels installed on a number of our homes as well. So we're constantly looking at how to make things more affordable for our homeowners to stay in their homes, as well as resources that can help them with maintenance and repair as well.
Okay, I had a couple of questions for you, and I'll try to.
Sure.
I'll ask you a question at a time. How's that?
That sounds good.
Okay, so the first question I have is just kind of a question, because you said that you are doing condos and you were doing some zero lot line homes. So traditionally in a condo, the homeowner or the condo owner is responsible from the paint inside the condo, and an entity or somebody is responsible for the exterior. Zero lot line, how I understand it, and I could be incorrect, but those zero lot line owner is responsible for everything. So for the condos that you're having, is there an entity or somebody that is responsible for the exterior repairs? And then where does that money come from to do those repairs?
Yeah. So the condominiums are structured just like a market rate condominium. So there is a condo association. All of the homeowners are members of that association, and the association does, they have a reserve fund, maintenance and reserve fund. All of the homeowners pay condo association dues every month to fund that maintenance and reserve. So that structure is just the same as like an open market condo owner. The difference is that when we are looking to fill that gap that I talked about, the affordability gap, to make sure that these homes are affordable, that monthly condo association fee is calculated into their affordability, which means that, oftentimes there might be a bigger gap that needs to be filled in public subsidy to make sure that the homeowner can afford both their condo association dues as well as their, standard principal, interest, taxes, and insurance on their monthly payment. So it is structured the same way. And then on a zero lot line townhome, they as the homeowner are responsible for the maintenance and repair of everything, including the land. And we educate homeowners that they have to save for that. It's not the condo association is kind of, I call it like a forced savings account for those maintenance and repair issues. Whereas as a standard homeowner that doesn't have a condo association, you have to just, be diligent about saving to be prepared.
Great, thank you. Another question, and you had mentioned about a 2 or 3 bedroom, I believe you were saying condo was about 1,100 square feet. What size square footage do you try to make these residences, and about what's the average?
Yeah, I'm not going to know the average off the top of my head. What I do know is that, most of the households we work with are families. And so our wait list has said they prefer and want 3-bedroom homes. We have had a little bit of experience trying to sell what we would call a micro condo. Those were anywhere from, oh my gosh, like 400 to 600 square feet. And that didn't go so well with our population that we are trying to serve. So, what I would say is we strive, I guess, to, these are modest homes, but we strive to, I would say, get, 800 to 1,500 square feet would be, I think, a goal.
Okay, thank you. I mean, that's a good size, or that's workable. I think that's all. I'll let somebody else go. I think, Tom, you're next.
Thank you, Scott. A follow-up on your earlier comment about the project. I think you said it was in the Interstate Avenue area that got sidetracked by the pandemic. Is there any prospect of that project being resuscitated, or is that one off the board?
Yeah, that one is off the board. It's actually being flipped now. I mean, it'll still serve the community, which is great, but it's being flipped to a rental project. And we currently, although community land trusts across the country, some have rental portfolios, we do not do rental. So that will be developed by a different nonprofit.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hamendra?
Yeah, so the next question I had was, if someone qualifies now, is that qualification for life? In case they are able to increase their qualifications, some take classes and bring their incomes up, do they have some additional payment to make, or how does that work?
Yeah. So all of the funding that we get to make these homes affordable requires our households document qualification at purchase, at the time of purchase. So we document that they were income qualified at the time of purchase. After they own their home, we are not required to do any additional income documentation. So households can definitely increase income and without penalty.
Tom, did you still have your hand up for another question?
No, just forgot to take it down.
No worries. Does anybody else have any other questions?
I have a question and a comment. This is Sean. Thanks, Katie, for joining us tonight. So the source of Tiger's contribution or partnership with you is the construction excise tax, which we talked about as a commission, I guess maybe 2 years ago now. So that is, slowly building up, and then when we have sufficient funding, we'll be able to do some of these down payment assistance projects. When do you think we'll? I meant to ask Skylar this, but when do you think we'll have our first Tiger projects?
Well, we should ask Skylar. No, he actually, it was funny, he reached out to me just last week about starting to work on a draft contract. So I think my hope from a while ago, and I think we're still on track for that, is that we would be able to start utilizing funding this next fiscal year starting July 1. Now, what that looks like, I'm not sure yet. As far as how it's going to be rolled out, whether it's going to be what I talked about, where it's like a buyer-driven program where we have a certain amount of funding per buyer, they go out shopping for a home that meets the criteria, and that's brought into the program. We're also talking about, the Washington County Housing Authority is looking to sell some of their scattered site rentals. And so I've been in meetings with Skylar as well. And this CET funding could help maybe bridge the gap to bring some of those homes into the program that are in Tigard. So I think that is what my understanding is as far as how we're going to get started working in Tigard will be with the CET funding and with existing properties. I think there is the goal of doing, possibly new construction or some other developments as well, but we're open. That's what's nice, is like it's flexible. It really comes down to what's the cost, what's the market cost of whatever we're getting, and here's what our buyers can afford. So making sure we have enough money to fill that gap.
Great. And one other just question: do you know off the top of your head how big was that property off Interstate? How big of a property do you need to build? 42 condos.
Our director would know that. It's I'm like the program side, not development side. So
sorry to
I could get back to you. No, that's okay. I could get back to you on it. It's not. I could tell you it was 6 stories. So it was 6 stories tall. So I'm sure we could do some math on that.
Yeah, let me know, and we'll keep an eye out here in the Triangle or in downtown for similar size property.
Yep.
Well, thank you, Katie, for joining us tonight. And this was
thank you so much.
Requested by our Affordable Housing Subcommittee. I think Ryan and Justin and who else was on that committee? I forget. Anyway, their idea, and they had the great idea to invite you, and thanks for telling us about the good stuff you're doing.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. We're very excited to begin working in Tigard. And yeah, if anybody has follow-up questions, feel free to follow up with me. I know Sean has my contact info. So thanks so much. And I'll let you get to the rest of your good work tonight.
Thank you, Kate.
All right. Bye.
Okay, we're going up to the number 7 item on the agenda, which is going to be Sean with downtown parking. Sean, go ahead.
Hello. So yeah, tonight, Derek Wright and I were actually going to talk about parking. He was going to talk about what he sees as some issues that could be developing with parking in downtown. Unfortunately, Derek was not able to make it tonight. He's out of town. But I thought I would still go ahead and talk about some of the, the findings from our last parking study, which is getting kind of old right now, 2018. But I think it, identifies some of the issues, and then I'm going to talk about some of the potential next steps. So 2018, we found there's about 268 on-street parking spaces shown here. I think that's maybe undercounts a little bit. I think there's a few on the other side of Ash and that new Atwell Street that weren't captured there. But, there's probably only maybe 10 or 12 more in addition to that. So some of them are 2-hour, marked as 2-hour, primarily on Main Street. And Main Street has been 2-hour parking since the late 80s, I believe. Not always enforced, as I'll talk about later. And then we have, a couple of lots, the Burnham lot, which was built by urban renewal funding. And then the lot that is in back of Symposium is also a public lot. And there's a couple of odd things you might think. There's that blue line that is next to Kiss Car Wash there. That is actually public right-of-way, a continuation of Burnham. And right now it's just kind of being used by businesses, but that could be a potential, having a few more spaces in that location, public spaces. And then, yeah, everything that's in blue is currently unlimited. Although since this study, we did actually put a 2-hour limit on Ash Avenue because of requests of the dog park patrons. So, about 268 spaces. We don't have an exact count of off-street private parking. We had a partial count of that only took into account Main Street. I think in this area that's shown here, there's probably 7 times the number of spaces of off-street private parking than on-street spaces. So a big supply of parking that is privately held. So this study, they took a look at what the occupancy was, and this is divided just north and south of the railroad. So not just Main Street, but Burnham and the other Commercial and the other streets. And so we see here, the real periods of high use are around lunchtime or a little before lunchtime. Here we really see it's broken down by street that, on Main Street, Burnham to the railroad, lunchtime, just about at 100% occupancy. So a lot of competition for those spaces. And then we see other locations where there's very little use of them. Particularly commercial, those 2-hour spaces don't get a lot of use. Study also studied how long people were staying. So, most people are just staying that hour or two, but we do have some people who are overstaying. That's shown here. On Main Street, it's not too bad. People overstaying the 2-hour limit. There was more overstaying in the Burnham lot. I know since then there may have been a little more stepped up enforcement there, so that number may be down. But even though there's not regular enforcement, I think having a sign up that says 2-hour parking does, discourage most people.
Hey, Sean, it looks like Chris S. has a question for you.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Chris?
Yeah. Was there a date on this, or perhaps a week where they did it every day? I was looking at the breakdown here, and I didn't see like when this was.
It was 2018. It was a weekday. I forget the time of month. I could find that out though.
It was just one day.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's not at least from what I see. From what I see, it really depends on, just how good the weather is, how close you are to a holiday, all that kind of stuff. Like 3-4 days after a holiday, people aren't out. We saw, a huge dip in business Tuesday of this week, even though it was a gorgeous day. People had just gone out all weekend and they weren't going out Monday, Tuesday, but traffic's back up again today. So I'd want to look, really, really closely at well, personally, I would say we probably can't do just a single day, and would need to look at it from the broader perspective of, is this really a peak time or is it not a peak time, depending on, what time of year it was, and then what day of the week, and then try to maybe spread it out over several weeks to try and get a better realistic view.
Yeah, I know when this last study, this 2018 study, was done by staff people. The more comprehensive ones that were done in 2015 and 2013, we definitely made a point of doing a couple days, one weekend day and one day during the week, and we wanted it. I think a spring we did it. Summer there was a feeling that people are on vacation, so it should be a time of year when school is in session. So there were some considerations about when to do it, and when we do a new study, there'll be a couple days sample there. We'll try to pick some days that make sense, that are representative of a typical day. And definitely, when we're more back in normal times, hopefully in the fall, would be a good time to do it.
Okay, sounds fair.
So some next steps. I think we're gonna have to look at time limits on Burnham. I think this study was done maybe around the same time that Atwell had just opened. I do think there's probably evidence, just guessing, but seeing how much parking is on Burnham, that there could be some residents who are parking there, since they do charge extra for a space. So there's probably some percentage of people who are doing it. So we might want to consider time limits, whether that's 2 hours or 4 hours. That's something we're gonna have to figure out. We do have a parking staff meeting that's held every couple months, and that it's people from Public Works and the police department and community development who meet to discuss issues that are going on citywide. I hadn't been going for a while, but I will start attending again to make sure downtown is getting the focus that it needs. There's this idea that we've had for a long time, and there is some evidence that it's going on in a business to business, but shared parking arrangements on private lots. That's where, a business that doesn't have much parking or maybe no parking will enter into agreement with a business that has a surplus of parking. And, sometimes money changes hands. Sometimes it's just a handshake deal or an understanding that, especially businesses that have off hours where one, a business that closes at 5 or 6, and then there's a business that has a dinner or a drinking establishment that might need some evening parking. Sometimes those arrangements are made. We'd like to see more of that. Can't really force people to do it, but we could make it easy. There's sample agreements out there. I think I've even shared it with the TDA. Again, I mentioned we'll do a parking study in the fall. And then, we were planning on doing one last year, but obviously during COVID, that wouldn't have made sense. It wouldn't have been a normal time to do it. And then we do have this potential for a shared parking structure. Should the ballot measure pass next Tuesday, that would certainly help with customer and employee parking. We do feel like we don't have absolute proof, but we think a lot of people who might be overstaying those 2-hour spots could be employees. And that's, something that, business owners should really talk to their employees about. The on-street parking should be for customers. There's, I'm sure there's not many, but there's some employees who are parking on the street, taking up spaces for employees. And so the enforcement we do have a community service officer who is a sworn police officer who does, as time allows, does enforce that 2-hour parking limit. And, it's not regular by any means, but, sometimes having a surprise enforcement kind of keeps people on their toes. And if you get a ticket, you don't want to get one again, so you'll start following the rules. So any questions on that? We'll talk a little bit more about this next month too, when Derek is able to come, just to share his thoughts on what he's seeing, and some other business owners have identified as potential problems going down the line.
Chris M., go ahead.
I was just curious. We have the consider time limits on Burnham, but has there been any discussion about Main Street too? I think on one of the charts it looked like that was one that might need considering, shortening the time or something.
So all Main Street spaces are 2 hours, and there are a handful of 15-minute spaces, or maybe just one. I think maybe just the dry cleaner has one. So, there are 1-hour parking limits. That's sometimes not enough time if you're especially going to have a meal or want to do some shopping. 2 hours seems to be the nice, customer-friendly time limit. I think that probably works well. Chris S., do you have any thoughts about that? Would a lower, less than 2-hour time limit make sense from your perspective?
I mean, I don't have any say in that really, because I should be making sure that my customers are in my own parking lot. So certainly we do see plenty of, especially lunch customers, since a lot of the other businesses aren't really open or don't have a lot of traffic during that time. We do see when I'm in brewing like I was today. A lot of times I'm looking out that front window and I see people pull into, in front of Senate, in front of the barber shop, et cetera, and then come across the street there. And I have started, kind of a program internally to try to not necessarily force people, but at least inform them that there is a parking lot back there and that would prefer that they park back there to leave space for other people.
How's your signage?
Still needs to be worked on.
Yeah,
but
that's another
it's on my list.
Okay. Yeah, that's another next step for the city too, is just directing people to. I mean, there is a sign that directs people to the Burnham parking lot, but maybe we need a couple more of those.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think that we should probably huddle up and see like where the best place to put those signs are. I certainly know where mine needs to go, but try and make it bigger, try and make it more more visible as well.
Great.
Any other questions? If not, Sean, can we move on to project updates?
Sure. So in your packet,
oh, sorry, Kate had raised her hand. I'm sorry, Kate.
Okay.
I just had a quick question on parking signage. If businesses want to improve their parking signage, is that something that we could do as part of a facade improvement grant?
Yeah, I think that would be eligible. I think we're moving away from just funding sign projects, but as part of a larger project, we would
do that. I was just thinking, anytime we can get people to park in private parking and leave more public parking open, it would be a good thing. So just thinking about that.
Yeah, and when we do the parking study, they have hire a few people, usually just college students, to go around. But they also will define the study area to take into account those private parking lots. I know from what I've seen that there are, not on Main Street necessarily, but on Burnham, there's a few businesses there with very large lots with very little use. So that would be good to know how much use they're actually getting, and then maybe encouraging. Again, we can't require this, of course, but encouraging some shared parking arrangements with businesses that need parking spaces with businesses that have a surplus. So on to updates. With the substantial amendment, and that's kind of a separate. It's our next agenda item, so maybe won't go into that now. With the Universal Plaza, we do have an RFP that's going out for a general contractor. It's actually went out today, and that is we're doing kind of a contract where we're not doing low bid, but we're hiring the person we think will be the best to do it, and they'll come in while the construction drawings are still being drawn to give advice about ease of constructability and budget and all that. So it's kind of a new for the city, or we've done it a couple times, but a newer way of hiring a contractor. So we should be getting some interest here and looking to select someone by the beginning of June. There's going to be a neighborhood meeting scheduled. Actually have the date, but I don't have it at my fingertips. I'll send out the date to you in case you're interested in attending. It's a required neighborhood meeting when a project comes in for land use, makes a land use application, and it will be an online meeting. Main Street, Green Street Phase 2, there's an RFP for that going out. Construction is still slated for late August. Senior Center Affordable Housing, they're tweaking the design a bit, and the land use application should be coming in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Main Street at Fano, waiting for their construction timeline. Urban renewal grants. We may have talked about this last meeting, but we did make an award to a new eco salon in the old Cafe Allegro building. Looks like a really cool project. The Fano Creek Nick Wilson Fano Creek Overlook. Looking to start design next fiscal year on that. And then the city facilities, I believe council has not made a decision yet on whether to put that on the ballot in November. And then Downtown Reimagined, which is a state planning grant to take a look at maybe increasing the density and changing some of the development code in the downtown, and also taking a real hard look at Hall Boulevard and how that functions. We did select a consultant to do that, so that should be starting up in the next couple months. In the Triangle, the board did approve that $500,000 forgivable loan for SEPA that the TCAC made a recommendation on. So that's in motion. That's good news. The rest of these here, parks, there is some news. We've hired an advisor to acquire some land. We've made some inquiries to potential property owners. No one's really interested at selling at a price that makes sense. So we're hiring someone basically to go out and beat the bushes and maybe twist some arms or shake some hands to see if we can acquire some parkland in the Triangle, because we do have funds budgeted for that. But we, for me as the only urban renewal staff, I really can't put aside hours at a time to go and try to convince people to sell. So this advisor will be helping us with that. Any questions?
I don't suppose we can force them to sell.
Well,
eminent domain.
Eminent domain is permitted for public projects. Not something that the council likes to do unless it's absolutely necessary. But
I wouldn't want to go there, but on the other hand, I wouldn't want there to be no parks in the Triangle either.
Right. Yeah, the person we hired is he used to work for the Trust for Public Land, so he's been very successful at getting people to sell. Talks about all the potential financial benefits, and so yeah, he's also plugged into potential other grants that might be out there to help us buy more land as well. And when we do buy land, to develop them.
Are there any other questions on the updates? Okay, Sean, if you want to move on to the substantial amendment update.
Yeah, really quickly. So I have been going out to our other boards and commissions. I went to PRAB and to TCAC last week, and the Committee for Citizen Involvement and the Youth Council, which was actually a pretty good meeting, as well as the library board. So making presentations on the substantial amendment. People for the most part seem supported and impressed with what we've accomplished in the downtown. And then a couple weeks back, the Chamber of Commerce had an online forum that the mayor participated in, as well as Commissioner Kate Rogers and myself, and wasn't hugely attended, but did get some good questions, and it has been recorded online, so perhaps people have gone back and looked at it. But the chamber did choose to endorse the measure. So ballots are next Tuesday. So if you have not mailed in your ballot, you might have to drop it off at this point, knowing how the mail is. But so just keep that in mind to make sure you vote, and encourage all your family and friends and networks to vote as well. I can't tell you how they should vote, but just encourage them to vote. And we do have some, the video is on the website and YouTube page, and we are going to be stepping up the social media as the election day gets closer. So yeah, kind of limited to what we can do at this point, and just hope that the voters look favorably on it as they have in the past. Any questions?
Okay, I don't see any questions, Sean. The next item up would be the subcommittee updates. And so I'm not aware of which subcommittees people are on. So if you would like to, you can just throw your hand up and I will call on you. I'll go right out the gate though and thank the one equitable housing or affordable housing subcommittee. Kate Ulrich was great. So thank you so much for having her come. So I think the first hand I see up is from Hamindra. Go ahead.
So I was looking at the Rock Creek Trail extension across 99. And last week I talked to Gary, the city staff person, and he was saying that the extension that they're looking at crossing the 99 at 64th. And in about a month, they are going to start talking to other parties involved in the metro, come up with some IG, they call it IGA, I guess, intergovernmental agreement in about a month time frame. So that's what I know of it. It's a complicated cross section, so I don't know how they're going to do it, because if you go north on Barber and you take I-5, you can go south, you can go south on I-5 or north on I-5, and then 99 itself gets divided into there's a complex intersection there, so it's going to be a challenge, but that's what he's planning at. It's near the Baxter Auto Parts on 64th. That's all I have right now.
Thank you so much. Elise?
Hi. Thank you, Hem, for that part of the trail. The intersection off of 72nd, the new intersection with the light has not gone live yet. People are turning in and out of the roadway there, but the light is not live. And then I'm trying to investigate what kind of trail connections will be happening off of Wall Street behind the library. And they were talking about building a bridge over the creek, but how are we going to get people to cross the train tracks? And so that's my next step in that location. And Ryan being out sick, sorry, yeah, he's just not available right now for his portion. He was investigating the transit.
Elise, have you talked to Gary about that?
No, he was going to. Okay. And so, yeah. And so we were just waiting for his feedback on that.
Okay.
And we're hoping to meet next month for our next little committee meeting, subcommittee meeting. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Elise. Tom.
For the Affordable Housing Subcommittee, we will bask in Kate Ulrich's reflected glory and don't have anything else to report.
Thank you, Tom. And she did a fabulous, I think she did a fabulous presentation. Wow, what a great program. Any other subcommittees? I'll just ask it one more time. Any other reports on subcommittees? Okay, I guess the next item, Sean, is the non-agenda items, and I had just brought up the Leadership Tiger class. And for those of you that don't know what that is, it's a class that's put on through the Tiger Chamber of Commerce. And it is a very involved and lengthy class. They ask for a 9-month commitment of going to class once a day for approximately 9 months. And then after you're done with your class, then you come back and you help teach a class then the next year. So they tentatively call it a 2-year commitment in the program, but it's a really fantastic program. I've been in this year. We actually met yesterday. We have one more class next month, and then we will be done. But if you're interested in it, I would encourage you to go to the Tiger Chamber of Commerce website or just Google Leadership Tiger for more information. And the classes do start in the fall. I didn't know if anybody else had any comments about the class or any questions. I could answer what I know. Okay.
I was going to, Councilor Goodhouse here. I was just going to say that obviously I was one of the presenters there yesterday, or not presenters, but put the day together because I was a graduate from the year before. So it was, I can echo your comment that it's a great program. Everyone learns a little bit of something, and it walks you through all the different avenues and facets of the city, anywhere from nonprofits to public safety to how government works. So you really get a idea of your city that you never would have thought of. Plus, it gives you immense skills as well.
So this is him. Is that like once, five times a week? One 1 hour class every day?
No, they meet once a month, but it's for the entire day. Oh. So yesterday we met at 8 a.m. and we were done by 3:30. But we also we're involved in a community project that we spent about another hour on the community project, and we wrapped it up for this year's class yesterday. And so it is very involved. It is all day. Most of the class times have ranged from starting at 8 in the morning to 8:30, but they usually go somewhere between 3:30 and I think we even had one class as late as 5. It's a very big commitment, but it is extremely interesting, and you really do get to know the community kind of, I'd like to say inside and out, but you really get to know the community and the leadership of the community, and highly recommend people to, at your leisure, look into it and perhaps consider it.
Yeah, I would echo that. I did the program 8 or 9 years ago, and it was very valuable, and just learning how the city works and different people in the community, and then working together on a big community benefiting project.
Did anybody else have anything for the non-agenda items that was not brought up earlier? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. I am going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting. I want to thank everybody for attending the meeting tonight, and I hope everybody enjoys this great weather that we're having, and looking forward to our meeting. Oh, go ahead, Kate.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just had this thought. Sean, is there been any discussion as to when we might be able to hold in-person meetings once again? Are we planning to do this remotely through the end of the year, through the end of summer, do a hybrid model? Has there been any discussion about that?
Yeah, there has been discussion that I'm not privy to all the time. They're talking about it. They haven't figured it out. They haven't made any final decisions that we'll be following. I think whatever the council decides to do, whatever they decide to come back in person, that's when we would start planning for returning to in-person meetings.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Hey, Kate, great question. I think everybody has been kind of wondering that. So
I can't wait to see everybody in real life.
Elise, did you have a question?
You guys.
Hey, Scott.
Yeah, go ahead, Elise.
Did we have any updates from the TDA about whether we're going to be able to host the art walk at the end of May, or whether we're going to be able to host the street fair? Because the balloon festival was canceled down in Cook Park, I heard. So I'm trying to figure out if we're going to get the street fair in September or not. Has anybody heard?
Hey, Sean, do you know anything?
I do not. I mean, the street fair has been in September.
Yeah, their calendar says save the date for September 11th, but that's all it. Yeah.
I haven't heard for sure, but it's going to depend on the Washington County guidelines. I think it's possible by September, but I would, I can't say for sure.
I think that's, Sean, what you're saying too. I mean, from all the governor's phone calls, it's been saying and press releases that June, that a lot more of this stuff's gonna be open and allowed, and if we hit 70% first shot vaccinations. So I think we hit a lot of that by June, that we'll know. I think we'll know by June probably.
Okay, so basically the art walk at the end of this month is probably out then.
I think it's still being planned. I think I don't know what is going on, if it's been moved or changed. I was talking with Kelly the other day, and I know something's being done with it, so. Okay.
Because there's nothing being announced on their website yet.
Unless they moved it to later because of this all.
Right.
I could check with Kelly and just maybe let Sean know, and he can get it out to everyone.
All right, thank you. That'd be great.
Amandra, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on Kate's question. Can we at least do like video meetings? Don't we do we don't do video meeting because of the bandwidth limitations, or at least we can see each other's faces on the screen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of in respect that not everyone has the same bandwidth, that we've been not showing videos, but I think it's certainly possible. It wouldn't take up much bandwidth if you whoever's talking could turn on their camera. That could be one way to do it, or we could turn them on at the beginning of the meeting and then turn them off. It doesn't have to be 100% off, but we do this because not everyone has the same bandwidth and things can get choppy. So, but I think if people want to put their camera on when they're speaking, or have a quick check-in at the beginning, I think that would be fine.
So I'm just going to throw out a joke that I actually heard yesterday about Zoom meetings, and some of you may have heard this and some of you had not, but now there is such a thing as called a Zoom mullet. What that means is that it's business on top and party on the bottom. Anyway, I'll throw it out one more time in case anybody had anything else. Okay, I don't see it. So officially now we're adjourning the meeting. Thanks everybody for putting up with me tonight. I'm sure I didn't fill Ryan's shoes, but thank you, and hope everybody can enjoy this weather. Have a good evening.
Thanks, Scott.